Alright, so to help you along here, I opened up all the images that you're going to be using for those last two um, assignments. So the first one that you want to open is the lighthouse. The reason why we're opening this, you probably color corrected it to begin with, but if you didn't color correct it, you always want to use your updated color corrected version for your edits. So for the last shot that you have to do, the even more magic shot, it says to adjust the front pumpkin from pumpkin, take it from the pumpkin head, and then also take the lily, the flower, and then put them into the image somewhere. So to do that, you don't want to use the uncolor corrected one. You want to have the color corrected one. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color correct this. So I'm going to go up here to filter. I'm going to go down to camera raw filter, and I'm going to open this in camera raw. So this is camera raw. First thing I want to do is I'm going to go over here to basic. I'm going to change this to auto, and I'm going to click on my white white balance, select my white balance, and then I'm going to click auto. So that brightens it up. And I'm going to go down here to exposure, brighten it up a little bit more, and I'm going to lower my contrast because I thought it was a little bit too much. Brighten it up just a little bit more. So now I have a color corrected image. If you want, you can go in further and make those blues stand out more. You know, give it a little bit more blue. I think that's too much. But you can go back in here and adjust that. So I have a pretty good color corrected image, so I'm going to click OK. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding in those other things. So I have my pumpkin head. So there's a bunch of ways to get this pumpkin head selected. The first one I'm going to try, because I haven't tried these out yet, but first one I'm going to try is click subject, and let's just see what happens. So subject got most of the pumpkin head, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my lasso tool. I'm going to make sure it's subtracting. So when I click my option key or my control key, it gives me a minus sign. So I'm just going to subtract the part of the pumpkin that I don't need anymore. All right. So, and I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I have my pumpkin. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this over to my other image. So I go to my move tool, which is the very top tool. You can hit your V key, and I'm just going to click on it and drag it up to my other document. And then I'm going to drag it down. I haven't let go of my mouse yet, and then I'm going to let go. All right, so this is my pumpkin. So I have that on a layer. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the flower. So I'm going to zoom out here and make sure I have the whole flower. Again, I'm just going to go to select. I'm going to see subject, see what it is. It does not work for this one, so I'm going to select this using my quick selection. So I click over here, W for quick selection. You can hit Shift W, W, and then it'll keep going through the different options. So if it clicks Shift and W, it goes through them all. So I want quick selection. I'm going to make my brush bigger by hitting my right bracket, which is right above. The brackets are next to the P key, so you have your left and your right bracket. So I'm going to click my right bracket to make it larger, and now I'm just going to select my flower. All right, so if you get something you don't want, again, hold down your option key to get rid of it. And it looks like down here it's going to be a little bit weird. All right, so it looks like I got it all. And depending on, I mean, you can make this perfect if you want, but this looks pretty good right here. I'm not sure what that line is right there. Maybe I want that. All right, so I got it by holding my shift key to add something and my control key to, or my alt. No, I think it's my control key. I'm on a Mac, so on my Mac, it's my option key, my option and my shift. And if you look at the top here, you can always just go between these two at the top here, which will allow you to subtract or to add. Right? So again, I'm going to go back to my move tool, hit my V key. I'm just going to click on this and drag it up over to my lighthouse, down, and let go. All right, so I have my pumpkin, and I have my flower. So this is the part where you're going to be being creative, and you're just going to do whatever to fit these into the image. I'm just going to grab it from one of my corners. Depending on what version of Photoshop you have, if you have an old version, you have to hold down Shift to keep the proportions the same. But on the newer versions, if you're on the cloud versions, you don't have to have Shift. All you have to do is grab it at a corner and drag it. So I'm going to put this right here in the front. I'm going to reduce the opacity so I can see. And I'm going to go to my rock, select my rock. So notice that I switched layers to do this. You always want to make sure you're on the correct layer when you're on the correct layer when you're working. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I just did that so that I can see where I'm going to put my flower, and I'm going to make it look like the rock is in front of the flower. So I'm going to create a mask on this layer. Oops. Create a mask on that layer so that it looks like it's behind the flower. And I'm going to also do this sign at the bottom here. So I'm going to do this quickly, just make a box. And again, I just want that sign to be in front. So I'm hitting my delete key with black. So what a mask does, if you look at the screen, it just masks out certain areas like a Halloween mask. You can't see what's behind it. So this is what it looks like if I were to actually look at that layer. And it's just like taking a piece of tape, like painter's tape, when you're doing a room and you're just masking out the background. So I have my flower there, and now I have to put my pumpkin in. So I'm gonna go make sure I'm on the pumpkin layer, click on my move tool. If you don't see these boxes, you can click show transform right here, and that'll allow you to do it. And I'm just gonna make this smaller. I don't know where I'm gonna put the pumpkin. Maybe at the top of the lighthouse. We just have to integrate these into the design. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. So I have my pumpkin and I have my flower, and I effectively showed how to use my layers and how to take images from one thing and put them in another. That's essentially what the project is trying to get at, is teaching you how to use your selection tools, either your lassos, your selects, your subject areas, your marquees, and also how to use your layers and to switch between tabs in Photoshop, right? So that's the first one. So again, I want to save this as a JPEG, so File, Save As, and save to my computer, or if you want to use the cloud, I don't know what you're using. I'm just going to save this as Lighthouse. It's going to say Magic Hour, and I'm just going to save it first as a Photoshop document, just in case I have to go change something, and then again save it as a JPEG. So oops, save as, and let's change this to JPEG. Alright, so that way if I ever have to go back to the original, I have it right there.